Pokemon has always been the weirdest game concept to me. It's all at once a game where you collect what is at this point several hundred unique creatures, raise them to be able to take on various well-known leaders of their communities known as gym leaders, all in an attempt to get strong enough to challenge 4 ridiculously strong trainers, the Elite Four, and the previous champion who defeated them. While doing all this, you're tasked with stopping different evil organizations bent on doing nefarious acts, ranging from stealing Pokemon from people to amass enough strength to go unchallenged by anyone, to literally trying to rewrite the entire universe by capturing gods and obtaining ultimate power. You know, hardcore shit like that. Across what is about to be 8 mainline Pokemon games, this formula has been present through all of them. What a mixed bag of ideas, right? Even on a micro scale, each game has its own unique identity. From the environmentalist themes of Gen 3 to the darker existential tones of Gen 5, every game has something to say and a different aesthetic to say it with. All that being said, not one of the Pokemon games has focused on the core element of the franchise. But how should we define that? You catch and collect Pokemon in every game, but I wouldn't call it a collectathon. You take down an evil organization in every game too, but I wouldn't say you're a superhero either. When you really look at what Pokemon is at its core, it's a sports game. Think about it. The central mechanic of the games are battling, and you can't get anywhere without it. Need to break a rock blocking your path to the rest of the world? Gotta beat the gym leader to use Rock Smash. Need to catch a new Pokemon? Gotta weaken it through battle first. Need to stop the world from ending? Gotta battle the chump trying to end it. The strongest guy in every region becomes its protector just because they prove they're the best at battling. Everything is determined by battling, and Pokemon battles are a type of sport. The gym leader plotline in each game is what really drives the games to being sports games. Anyone who follows sports will tell you that what makes them interesting is the narrative of the players, a concept I talk about more in my video on what makes sports anime work, so go check that out if you're interested. Every player in any sport has their own narrative, something that makes us want to root for or against them, something that says something about them, whether it be related to the sport or not. Pokemon has always had the simplest, most effective narrative going for over 20 years now. The opening line from the original anime theme song has become so synonymous with the series, its effect has always been felt. Why do you think so many people lost their shit when Ash won the Alola region? Because for 20 years, he's come so close so many times, and now he's finally won. He's become the very best. An outcome that probably should have come a while ago, but is nonetheless incredibly satisfying. Pokemon games have also followed this mantra. You battle gym leaders to get the chance to become the champion, the very best in the world. Gen 1 and 2 are the ones that lean into this aspect the most, and I think that's one of the reasons they're remembered most fondly. Team Rocket was mainly an afterthought in those games. Like, yeah, you need to beat them, but that's mainly because they're directly blocking your progression in most cases. The real goal of those games was to become the champion, which I feel like we've gotten away from in more recent generations. Every generation since Ruby and Sapphire have focused more on the story it's trying to tell rather than the ultimate goal of the player. Gen 7 goes so far as to almost forget the idea of becoming the best with the focus it puts on its story, the exclusion of gym leaders, and making the island kahuna battles feel more like a formality than advancing your career as a trainer. Overall, I felt directionless as a player participating in the sport I'm actively trying to be the best at because there's no solid goal. At one point in the game, you're told the Elite Four in Alola hasn't even been formed yet. Now, there are other things to like about Sun and Moon, so don't think that I hate them, but those are the games that make me feel the least like I'm growing as a player because with a lack of a solid goal comes no good competition. Competition is what makes sports exciting, and getting to know your competition's narrative is what makes them memorable. Pokemon has dozens and dozens of memorable trainers throughout the games that people love. Pokemon Masters is a great example. People can finally have interactions with the characters they love outside of their original games. One of my favorite trainers is Volkner from Gen 4. Volkner had become depressed from the lack of strong trainers challenging him, which led him to losing the love of the game. He spends his time renovating his gym rather than training to get stronger. When you meet him, he tells you if you lose, he'll leave the gym to go fight the Pokemon League, affirming that there's no better challenge. When you go to fight him, he's completely disinterested in performing his duties as a gym leader, sighing and giving a lackluster introduction to the battle. Then, after you beat him, he's fucking elated at the battle you just had. He laughs and says he's excited to know you'll keep getting even better. Every time you meet him after that, he's always happy and excited to battle you again. What's better than that? Two people in love with the sport having a good battle. This is the kind of competition that makes me feel like my career as a trainer is going somewhere. I've become strong enough to change the way somebody looks at the sport now. I've given them a good enough fight that they've fallen in love with battling again. To me, that's a great feeling. The sad part is that interactions like this are never the focus of the games. This is why I'm really excited to play Sword and Shield, because I expect them to do things differently. Look at all the trailers coming out. I don't need to tell you this. Sword and Shield are really playing into Pokemon battling as a sport. You battle gym leaders in giant stadiums where everyone is watching. The evil team is just a group of wild, over-the-top fans of one of your rivals. You get to have your own goddamn trading card. How fucking sick is that? I'm in love with these ideas, and I'm hopeful that even more stuff like them are implemented. Like, how cool would it be to get endorsement deals and sponsorships as you continue to battle through the major and minor leagues, or grow your own fan base and be able to interact with them in some way? It's like becoming a celebrity. All that being said, I'm really excited for the rivals of this game. Much like most people, I'm tired of the nice rivals of the recent games. In Gens 1, 2, and I'd argue 4, your rival is there to check your progression as a trainer, always being right alongside you in strength and able to compete with you on the same level. The reason people hate the friendly rivals of the other games isn't because they're literally your friends, but because it feels like they aren't even trying to compete with you. Most of them bow out of relevance before you even reach the Elite Four. They'd rather get out of your way, tell you you're the best, and fucking leave. They feel like minor stepping stones to a larger goal rather than a legitimate roadblock you need to get past. Every time you meet Blue in the original games, he's always one step ahead of you and brags about how much farther he is. He antagonizes you through the whole fucking game. Don't you just want to kick the shit out of him? Now every time he walks up, you know you want to beat him. You know you've both gotten stronger and it's time to test how good you really are. In modern Pokemon games, I don't get this feeling. I'm just like, hey, it's all who's his tits again, and then I beat him and move on, and like, that's it. That's all you do. In Gen 7, Hau and Gladion are your rivals, and they're both not that good. I actually really like Gladion as a character, but he's so detached from your career as a trainer because he's part of the main story, so I don't feel as satisfied when I fight him. And Hau is just too friendly to make me give a shit about beating him. Like, you can still have a friendly rivalry that's competitive, but Game Freak seems to have forgotten that idea since Gen 4 when they made Barry exactly like that. Now, since Sword and Shield aren't out at the time of me making this, I can't say if the rivals are any good, but I think they already have incredible potential. Hop is your main rival, and the younger brother of the champion of the Galar region. Right from the get-go, there's bound to be some tension between you and him since both of your goals are the same, but he has so much more to live up to. We don't know anything about Bede yet, but just from his small part in the trailer, you can tell he looks like a dickhead. His body language and cocky, shit-eating grin say a lot about him. Marine is your final rival, and is the affection of the aforementioned evil team that'll get in your way for her sake. I don't really know what to think about her just yet, but the whole wild fan thing is interesting, so I'm excited to see what they do with her involvement with them. It's good to know that before the game comes out, Sword and Shield are really putting some focus on your narrative as a trainer. This is something we've never really gotten before, at least not to this extent, and part of the reason your narrative is so important is that Pokemon themselves can make everyone's different. Sure, the same events still happen, but the way each player can approach it can be wildly different. even attempting different challenges like Nuzlocke enhances that narrative. To me, that's what makes Pokemon so special. Everyone gets to grow in their own way, and how the games facilitate that growth is so satisfying. That's all I got for now. If you like the video, subscribe and give it a like. Tell me in the comments what your favorite generation is and why it's Gen 4. Share the video around and go follow me on Twitter if you want. Love and peace, everyone.